Let's take a look at this first one. The first one's a doozy, by the way. Romans 10 and verse 4. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. I mean, it's like ecstasy. It's almost like, with a lot of people, it's almost orgasmic. It's like yippee, yay, the law's been done away. They ought to do, that's a nice little tune, they'll sing at in church, yippee, yay, the law's been done away, All right, now let me ask you a question. If you're a Christian, why would you want to do away with the law of God? Now don't answer that. I mean, that gets way too personal, because now I'm dealing with the heart, you see. And we really don't want to go there, so don't answer that question. But it is a good question. Why would you want the law? Okay, now let's look at Exodus 20 and ask the question, why would you want these laws to end? And I'm going to summarize these laws. Number one, trust God only. Is that a bad law? Why would you want that to end? 2, worship God only. 3, use God's name in a way that honors Him. Why would you want that to end, that law? 4, rest on the Sabbath and think about God, like a vacation day. Take a break. You didn't have to tell the Israelites, who had made bricks for hundreds of years, to take a break. They were happy to do that. But why would you want that law to be done away with? Why would you want that law to end? Respect and obey your parents. 5th commandment. 6th commandment, protect and respect human life. Why would you want that law to end? 7th, be true to your husband or your wife. Now, I got to thinking about this. If you're sitting in church and you're not true to your husband or your wife, yeah, I can see why you might want Christ to be the end of the law. If you're sitting in church living with your boyfriend or girlfriend, I can see why you might. You don't want the law to condemn you. You don't want the law to tell you what you're doing is wrong. You don't want no one to tell you what you're doing is wrong. And you sure don't want the preacher preaching about it. So I can see why you would want the Christ to be the end of the law. Let me tell you something about living together, entering into a sexual relationship. Once you if you've entered into a sexual relationship with a person, you are, in the eyes of God, already married to that person. You have already entered into a marriage covenant in the eyes of God, whether you realize it or not. Just because you're ignorant of it doesn't mean anything. In the eyes of God, if you've shared that kind of intimacy, sexual relationship with a person, man and woman, of course, you have entered into a marriage covenant with God. So you might as well go ahead and tie the knot. That's what I'm saying. Okay, 8th commandment. Do not take what belongs to others. Now, if you're sitting in church and you've stolen some supplies at the office that you work at, yeah, I can see why you might want Christ to be the end of the law. 9th commandment, do not lie about others. Now, if you're sitting in church and you're sharing and you're a pathological liar, you can never tell the truth. You wouldn't know the truth if it bit you on the rear end. Okay, I can see why you'd want Christ to be the end of the law. 10th commandment, be satisfied with what you have. Now, if you're not satisfied, you're not satisfied with your wife, you're not satisfied with your job, you're not satisfied with anything, then I can see why you might want Christ to be the end of the law. Now, what's interesting is this. If you're not a religious person, and you just walk up to some old Joe who has not been brainwashed by 40 years of churchianity, and you say, you see anything wrong with these laws? Right here, okay, trust God only, worship God only, use God's name in a way that honors Him, rest on the Sabbath day, take a break and think about God, respect and obey your parents, protect and respect human life, be true to your husband or wife, do not take what belongs to others, do not lie to others, be satisfied with what you have. You ask just a typical non-religious today, but say, well, no, I think these laws are good. Every law-abiding citizen should keep them. It's what makes society work. I want my neighbor to keep these laws. I don't want my neighbor stealing my stuff. I don't want my neighbor lying to me. I don't want my neighbor hitting on my wife. These laws are good. However, you ask a lot of religious people and they'll tell you, well, Christ is the end of the law.
Check us out on the web at isthatreallyinthebible.com.